And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you, Aquaba, and welcome. Welcome to another round of the Conscious Roster Report here on LIV Radio, LIV TV, here on livinginblack.com. My name is Keedy Owado, aka the Conscious Roster. Weekday mornings, you and I get together live. We come at you from 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's 12 noon Eastern time, 5 p.m. GMT, and 8 p.m. East Africa time. We get together with you and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives, entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Monday. It is the 10th of February, 2025 in the Western calendar. This corresponds to the year 6265 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we've realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the 7th millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIV Radio, LIV TV, and livinginblack.com. Here's what we have for today's broadcast. We're going to go back into our in-depth studies about the Africa Rising narrative is now transforming to the African future. And it is an elevation of a number of very powerful themes. Today's program is centered around the topic Continental Unity Moves Us Forward. Africa is emerging from centuries of debasement, underdevelopment, disrespect, and ruthless exploitation. People of African heritage across the diaspora can now anchor themselves culturally within the world's fastest growing population and youthful demographics. With a bright future for prosperity, industrial productivity, and an ascending power and influence across the global community. There is great reason to be a proud African on this beautiful planet for the centuries ahead. That is the conversation we are having today here on LIV Radio. I welcome you, a listening audience, to get engaged, be engaged with the conversation to the best of our abilities. Let me again make this point. Continental unity, and I can easily extend it to global unity, moves us forward. So you and I move forward. We move forward based upon these ideas about unity, collaboration, cooperation, all of these points we're going to be really strongly emphasizing today. And I hope you can get as excited, or are already as excited as your brother about these ideas that we call the African future. Welcome to the program. Let's get right into it. And for everyone checking in, I do see a few people in the house already. Make sure you do hit the like button. And just that quickly, I see my sister for Africa One, Sister Shinga Aquava. Welcome, beloved. Hope you are in positive spirits today. And enjoy your cup of hot tea. I'm enjoying mine over here. I'll do my best to sip it silently. And let's go forward. I'm going to be sharing a lot of powerful thoughts, powerful words for today's program. I'm going to go into the book, as I have been writing feverishly today on the book, The African Future, and a couple of quotes. First quote from Kwame Nkrumah opens up the chapter. Again, the chapter entitled Continental Unity Moves Us Forward. Kwame Nkrumah, from the book Neo-Colonialism, The Last Stage of Imperialism, he spoke the following. Neo-colonialism is based upon the principle of breaking up former large united colonial territories into a number of small, non-viable states which are incapable of independent development and must rely upon the former imperial power for defense and even internal security. Their economic and financial systems are linked, as in colonial days, with those of the former colonial ruler. That's from Kwame Nkrumah. His book, a powerful book, which we did review his book in no small part a few days ago. And I put up a link to the PDF to where you can get Neo-Colonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So I highly, highly encourage each and every one of you to get that quote. I began this chapter with the following subchapter entitled Pan-African Futurists Transforming Our Destiny. The quote, "I will not give up a continent for an island," unquote, is attributed to Marcus Messiah Garvey. This idea is expressed in his response when asked if he identified as an African or a Jamaican. His sentiment was a transcendent response for its time, given the poor social, economic, and sovereign status of blacks worldwide. Garvey's pronouncement emphasizes his commitment to African identity and unity. Although the quote's original source proved difficult to identify, it can be inferred that it originates from Garvey's speeches or writings from the 1920s or 1930s. And I did put up a footnote here to an article, Caribbean Unity, Part 3, Unity, Its Strength, from Hamilton Daly, writing in Jamaica Magazine in 2007. So that gives us a grounding. But again, the statement, hard for me to find its location, but it originates from Garvey's speeches or writings from the 1920s or 1930s. However, it is worth noting that the quote's authenticity and context might be subject to interpretation, as some critics have argued that Garvey's views on Africa were romanticized and lacked understanding of the continent's diverse cultures and societies. Nevertheless, the quote remains a significant expression of Garvey's Pan-Africanist ideology and his emphasis on African identity and unity. So let's bring in a few more of these other voices, key voices in the world today, to our conversation. And let me just give this slight note to myself. Key among our global voices that echo Garvey's profound ideologies include the following. The first of which up is Professor P.L.O. Lumumba. And I have I have subchapters on two of these right off the bat, or maybe three. Yeah, three of these have subchapters. The first is Professor P.L.O. Lumumba's Pan-African Vision and Priorities. Professor Patrick Otieno Lumumba is a renowned Kenyan Pan-Africanist lawyer and academic. He is the founder of the P.L.O. Lumumba Foundation, which aims to nurture transformational leaders across Africa. Let me repeat that sentence. Patrick Otieno Lumumba is the founder of the P.L.O. Lumumba Foundation, which aims to nurture transformational leaders across Africa. Lumumba holds a PhD in laws of the sea from the University of Ghent in Belgium. and is taught at the University of Nairobi and Kabarak University. Keys to Professor Lumumba's Pan-African mission include, but are not limited to, number one, United Africa. Lumumba advocates for a united Africa, emphasizing the need to rethink and renegotiate the boundaries and structures inherited from colonialism. He believes African countries should work together to address common challenges and promote economic development. Point two, in 1 second. Ooh, cayenne pepper. Point two, PLO Lumumba, the key to his ideologies. African solutions for African problems. Lumumba emphasizes the importance of African-led solutions to African problems rather than relying on external aid or foreign expertise. He encourages Africans to think critically and develop innovative solutions to our own challenges. Point three, rejection of hyper-religiosity. Lumumba critiques Africa's over-reliance on religion, arguing that it has hindered progress and development. He advocates a more pragmatic approach, focusing on problem solving and critical thinking rather than waiting for miracles or external intervention. And I completely agree with our Jigna mentor, Baba, PLO Lumumba. I had a wonderful opportunity. Many of you have seen the video, the interview. He granted me 2 hours, and actually there were 2 other brothers with me, and he granted us all 4 hours there at the offices in Nairobi, Kenya. And it was really quite a transformational experience. Point number 4 from PLO Lumumba, decolonization of culture and economy. Lumumba highlights European powers' ongoing colonization of Africa's culture, religion, and economy. He emphasizes the need for Africans to reclaim their heritage and develop unique indigenous cultural and economic systems. Point number 5 from Professor PLO Lumumba, empowerment of African youth. Lumumba is concerned about the brain drain and economic hardship driving many African youth to flee the continent. He advocates for addressing these issues by promoting education, entrepreneurship, and job creation, and empowering young Africans to take leadership roles in their communities. Point 6, energy security and economic development. Lumumba has expressed concern about the energy crises plaguing Africa and the continent's reliance on external energy sources. He emphasizes the need for African renewable energy generation development and promotes sustainable economic growth. And point number 7 from PLO Lumumba, promoting African values. Lumumba draws inspiration from African history and culture, emphasizing the importance of community, Ubuntu, and mutual respect. He consistently charges Africans to reclaim and celebrate our cultural heritage as a foundation for empowering a more united and prosperous continent. Overall, Professor PLO Lumumba's Pan-African mission centers around promoting African agency, self-reliance, and transnational unity, while critiquing the legacies of colonialism and promoting sustainable development and economic empowerment across the continent. And that's just a brief profile. Literally, Professor PLO Lumumba, his work comprises many books. And the PLO Lumumba Foundation is a powerful institution for progressive development around the world. The next profile, Dr. Arikana Chimbori Kwao, pillars of her Pan-African mission. Dr. Arikana Chimbori Kwao is a Zimbabwean-born physician, diplomat, and entrepreneur. Her medical specialty is family medicine, which she has practiced for over 25 years, and is also a public speaker, educator, and founder of medical clinics. Chimbori Kwao has held various leadership positions, including serving as the African Union's permanent representative to the United States from 2017 to 2019. Key points of her Pan-African mission, and I should point out here, from which she was fired. From which she was fired because she was a leading voice calling for France's exclusion from African affairs. And that's a very, very serious point. Let me just highlight this, come back and correct it when I'm not writing and talking at the same time. Going forward, key points of Dr. Chimbori Kwao's Pan-African mission include: point 1, promoting Africa in the Americas. Chimbori Kwao's mandate is to promote African interests and mobilize the African diaspora, including people of African descent living outside of America. And she is the founder of the Pan-African Diaspora Development Initiative. Is that the right one? I don't think that's the right. Founder of the Pan-African Diaspora Development Initiative. That's what it's called. PADDI. And I think that's .org. Let me come back. I'll correct that one a little bit later. Point 2 on Dr. Chimbori Kwao's mission, uniting Africans. She strives to unite Africans across the continent and the diaspora, emphasizing the importance of a collective identity and shared heritage. Very important. Point 3, addressing Africa's health care crisis. As the chair of the African Union African Diaspora Health Initiative, AUADHI, Dr. Chimbori Kwao worked to mobilize African diaspora health professionals to assist with Africa's continental healthcare crises. And that is another point of commonality that she and I have. That's a critical part of my mission as well. Point 4, empowering the African diaspora. She aims to empower African diaspora communities to take an active role in shaping their own futures and contributing to Africa's sovereign and sustainable development. Point number 5, Pan-Africanism and independence. Dr. Chimbori Kwao strongly advocates for Pan-Africanism and African independence, calling for an end to foreign domination and exploitation on the continent. Point 6, Wakanda One Village Project. She launched the Wakanda One Village Project, which aims to engage Africans from the diaspora in sustainable development initiatives on the continent, starting with projects in Zambia and Zimbabwe, as well as the Gold Coast region of Ghana. Number 7, building positive relationships. During her tenure as African Union Permanent Representative to the United States, Dr. Chimboro Kwao worked to develop and maintain positive relationships between the African Union and the U.S. government and with African diaspora communities across the USA. A couple of corrections. And I would use her name also. Many of us know her as Dr. Arakana, which is an endearing representation. Most of the time with scholars and intellectuals, we'll call them by their formal title, doctor, as their last name. But Dr. Arakana presents herself as much more intimately and friendly with her collaborators around the world. I mean, we cannot say enough good things about the work of Dr. Arakana Chimboro Kwao. She is truly, truly a giant and represents the living voice of Marcus Garvey. Overall, Dr. Arakana Chimboro Kwao's Pan-African mission is centered around promoting unity, empowerment, and development among Africans on the continent and in the diaspora. While challenging external influences and promoting African independence and self-determination. And he's challenging these external influences like France. France is dominating neo-colonial patronage and promoting African independence and self-determination. The next subchapter profile is for Dr. Calestis Juma, a champion of science and technology for African development. Dr. Calestis Juma, born 1953, died 2017, was a renowned international affairs scholar and leader who dedicated his career to promoting the applications of science, technology, and innovation, STI, to sustainable development, particularly across Africa. His work analyzed the co-evolution of technological innovation and institutional change in socio-economic systems. Dr. Juma's key contributions to Pan-African future development include, but are not limited to, let me put that in because he did so much. Number 1, the African Center for Technology Studies, ACTS. Founded in 1988, the African Center for Technology Studies was Africa's first independent policy research institution dedicated to advancing research on technology in development. ACTS Act's groundbreaking study, Innovation and Sovereignty, 1989, led to adopting the Industrial Property Act in Kenya and created the Kenyan Industrial Property Office. Point 2. Integrated Science, Technology, and Innovation, STI framework. Dr. Juma advocated for an integrated STI framework to be reflected in national development strategies and aligned, bear with me, aligned with institutional changes across African countries. This approach aimed to bolster economic growth and prosperity. Point 3, global challenges and biotechnology. As chair of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences Global Challenges and Biotechnology Program, Dr. Juma worked to develop ways for developing countries to attain Millennium Development Goals through technology and science. MDGs, Millennium Development Goals. Very important that we understand that process. Forward. Point 4. African Union High-Level Panel on Modern Biotechnology. Dr. Juma co-chaired this panel to promote the safe and responsible use of biotechnology in Africa. And I must insert at this point, to be perfectly honest, because Dr. Juma was my jegna. He and I only communicated just very few times, never met in person, only via emails. I had the utmost, highest respect for Dr. Alexis Juma. I do have 2 of his books, and I try my best to keep them handy. One of my favorite of his books should be right over here. I don't see it, so I must have been reading it here recently and moved it to another shelf. But talked about African agriculture. And where is my Dr. Juma book? I must have been showing it. Oh, it's called The New Harvest by Dr. Alexis Juma, Agricultural Innovation in Africa. I have another later book that I haven't read on his, which talked about how many Africans resist technology and technology change and transformation, and how that was something that he did his best to try and get us out of that resistance. But some of us remain within that sphere of skepticism about Western technologies. And one of the shameful points of Dr. Juma's career was that he did accept money from the Monsanto Corporation to promote the idea of bioengineering foods and seeds for African development. And to this date, Kenya still kind of reflects that shift. I will be very, very clear. As much as I loved and respected Dr. Alexis Juma, on that particular point, I cannot apologize for him. I will just say that that was a mistake. Many of you who are regular listeners to this program understand why we would say taking money to promote biotechnologies from Monsanto, Bayer, from DuPont, Union Carbide, Syngenta, and these other Western corporations that want to control and dominate the world's food supply and are contaminating indigenous species and breeds of flora. There is no money. There is no money that would convince me to give up this position that we must resist. Going forward, Dr. Juma also included the African Union High-Level Panel on Modern Biotechnology. He co-chaired this panel to promote the safe and responsible use of biotechnology in Africa. I mentioned that. There is a place for biotechnology in Africa, but I can assure you it is not capturing indigenous genetics in order to increase the amount of pesticides that can be put into the crop. It is not about capturing the identity of seeds from all of the variety of this different species so that you can patent elements of that, insert some little maybe insignificant um, some little insignificant gene identity, gene marker into it, and then claim that anybody who has that marker in their seed stock must pay you a royalty. Mm-mm. No, 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 no. Not in the future, the African future you and I would create. No. Going forward, Dr. Juma involved in the Science Leadership Fellowship. In 2021, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation launched the Calestis Juma Science Leadership Fellowship in his honor, funding exemplary African scientific leaders to continue his legacy. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is another one of those bloody red marks, not just on Dr. Calestis Juma, but wherever their fingerprints, wherever their bloody footprints show up, we do know there's problem. There's a big problem there. Point number 6, thought, leadership, and policy influence. Dr. Juma engaged with policymakers throughout his career, convincing many African governments to adopt integrated STI frameworks, again, science, technology, innovation frameworks. He was a passionate advocate for strong national STI policies and was named one of the most influential 100 Africans by the New African magazine in 2012, 2013, and 2014. And New African magazine is undeniably one of our favorites. New African magazine. If you're not familiar with it, I don't know if it's online, but I think it's out of print now. And I do have in my catalogs, let me find, because I have a link for New African magazine. Let me just share that with you. New African magazine, open in a new tab. And let me just give you access to New African magazine as well. Please do pay close attention to it. The new issue just in, why the AU election must deliver more than a chairperson. The main story, a tribute to His Highness Prince Kareem Aga Khan IV, and other, how Africa should respond to a Trumpian world. That sounds like a good article. Let me go ahead and just link you to that article, how Africa should respond in a Trumpian world. I'm going to copy, cut, and paste that link and share that with you or listening audience so that you can have access to what I believe to be one of the great African media houses in the world. I believe New African Magazine is based out of London, I think so. And just has been one of my favorites for over 20 years. Yes, they have been around for quite some time. So pushing that link up for those of you in our listening audience, whether you are listening to say on YouTube, on Rumble, or listening on Facebook Live. Wherever you are, that's where we be as well. I am because you are, and I am because we are. That is Ubuntu. So there, I put up that link for that article. One more place I'm going to put it so everyone can have access to. People are often asking me, Keedy, where do you do this research? Where do you get this research? I get it from a long list of media, and I do the best I can to stay away from the dominating house media, the LA Times, New York Times, the Washington Post, Huffington Post. I do the best I can to keep away from them because if I go to them, I have to wash my hands a whole lot because they smell like contamination. A couple more comments have come in for our listening audience. I see you in the house today. For African One, writes, I've searched without success for Garvey's quote, which I paraphrase: if Africans were to know themselves within 48 or 24 hours, we would be a new race. Does anyone know which speech it came from? I don't recognize that. Hopefully someone will look that up and help us out for Africa One. Nguvu in the house. Hotep Elabey family. Most African leaders emphasize the importance of self-sufficiency and reliance. I argue that the further we get from African values, the crazier we've become. Excellent point you make, from which there's no way in the world I'm going to disagree with that. He also wrote, the only quote I remember is, people without a knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. Does this help? Yes, that does help. That's a very powerful quote. I do have this book, and let me just share this with you because I'm going to do a better job of convincing my listening audience to also become my reading audience. And this book is not the one I meant to grab. I meant to grab my other book called The Road to Power, 7 Steps to an African Global Order. And the first chapter of the book is an analysis of the life and the times of Marcus Garvey, and the book Race First by Dr. Tony Martin. And among the many quotes I have from Marcus Garvey is the following: we are living in a civilization that is highly developed. We're living in a world that is scientifically arranged, in which everything done by those who control is done through system, proper arrangement, proper organization, and among some of the organized methods used to control the world is the thing known and called propaganda. Propaganda has done more to defeat the good intentions of races and nations than even open warfare. Marcus Garvey says. A wonderful book. I'm going to highly encourage you, my listening audience, to put this book in your library. This book came out in 2000, at the beginning of the year 2000, the beginning of this new millennium, new century. And this book was a powerful transcendence for me in my evolution. It changed everything. In fact, after this book came out, it was 12 years after this book that I wrote another book. I had not just writer's block, but I said this book is the ultimate. It's the what's the word? Penultimate. I don't even know what the word is. I'm trying to say it. It was the ultimate. And I went out on a tour of 24 U.S. states that lasted over 14 months to do the best I could to organize our people around this book, The Road to Power, 7 Steps to an African Global Order. Today, we continue to build on that while I'm writing, which will be my 17th book, on Pan-African Sovereign and Sustainable Development. 17 books. And there's a 18th one that will follow that one in short order. The 17th book is called The African Future. And today's conversation is Continental Unity Moves Us All Forward. Here we go. Back to the text. And did I get all the comments in? I sure did. Thank you for Africa One and Nguvu for your positive engagement. I am because we are. Going back to my text, we're talking about Dr. Calestis Juma's contributions have impacted Pan-African future development, shaping the continent's approach to science, technology, and innovation policies. His work inspires and informs efforts to promote sustainable development and economic growth across Africa. And that's why he got his own subchapter. Pan-African intellectuals and futurists include, and here are a number. Let me just introduce myself to these brilliant scholars. The first of which is Achille Mbembe. Achille Mbembe. This Cameroonian philosopher, political scientist, and public intellectual is known for his work on post-colonialism, African history, and contemporary African politics. Mbembe's influential book on the post-colony explores the complexities of post-colonial African identity and governance. He often speaks on the future of Africa in a global context. Quote, "The future is not a mere continuation of the past. It is a space of possibilities that we must actively shape." Wow, that hits me right to my heart, right to my core. For me, the future is not just a citation, recitation, not just predictions. Like he says, it is a space of possibilities that we must actively shape. Cannot disagree. Next, Nanjala Inyabola, a Kenyan author and political analyst focusing on technology, democracy, and society in Africa. Inyabola's book, Digital Democracy, Analog Politics, discusses the impact of technology on African political landscapes, emphasizing the need for inclusive governance in the digital age. She has shared the following quote, "Technology is not neutral. It reflects the values and biases of those who create it. And we must ensure that African voices are part of that conversation." Nanjala Inyabola. Powerful words. Next, Ayo Obe. This Nigerian lawyer and activist is known for her work on human rights and governance. Obe has been involved in various initiatives to promote democracy and good governance in Africa. She advocates for the role of youth and women in shaping the continent's future. One Ayo Obe quote I share here, quote, "Democracy is not just about elections. It is about ensuring that every voice is heard and that all citizens have a stake in the future." And that is taken from a conversation, Why Conflict Prevention Matters, a conversation with Ayo Obe from 2019. Next up, Dr. Sifiwe Dube. Dr. Sifiwe Dube is a South African futurist and strategist focused on sustainable development and innovation. Dr. Dube's works on projects that explore the intersection of technology and sustainable practices in African communities, aiming to empower local solutions for African challenges. I should say aims. Dr. Dube says, quote, "Innovation in Africa must be rooted in our local contexts and cultures, harnessing our unique strengths to create sustainable solutions." Ashe. Next we have His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President of Nigeria. The Nigerian politician and former governor of Lagos State, known for his role in shaping modern Lagos and his influence in Nigerian politics, President Tinubu was elected the 16th president of Nigeria in 2023. While primarily a political figure, Tinubu has engaged in many discussions about Africa's political future, emphasizing the importance of economic development and regional cooperation. He says, quote, For Africa to thrive, we must embrace unity and collaboration, leveraging our diversity as a strength rather than a division. I like that quote from President Tinubu. I'm going to repeat. He says, for Africa to thrive, we must embrace unity and collaboration, leveraging our diversity as a strength rather than a division. Ashe. Next up of these influential scholars and thinkers talking about future directions is Nnedi Okorafor. Nnedi Okorafor. This Nigerian American writer is known for her works in African futurism and African Jujuism. She is credited with coining the term African futurism to describe science fiction rooted in African culture, history, and mythology. Her notable works include the novels Who Fears Death, Binti, and Lagoon. She has won several awards, including the Hugo, Nebula, and World Fantasy Awards. Quote from Okorafor: I believe that stories are powerful, that they can change the world, and that they can change people. Excellent, excellent, excellent point. Tade Thompson, the next scholar up, this Nigerian British author and psychiatrist, is known for contributing to African futurism and speculative fiction. His notable works include the Wormwood Trilogy and Rosewater, which won the Arthur C. Clarke Award. Thompson's work explores identity, technology, and African cultural heritage themes. Here is a Tade Thompson quote: Science fiction is a way of thinking, a way of logic that bypasses a lot of nonsense. It allows you to look directly at important subjects. Up next of our scholars, and let me just double check if any of the scholars in our listening audience have anything to say. Yes, we do. Nguvu writes, the only quote I remember, I think I may have read that already, the only quote I remember is that people without a knowledge of their past, history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. Does this help? Yes, that does help, and I read it a second time. Thank you for your comments. For everybody out there, I have a good size audience today, and I'm so happy. I do encourage everyone, please, can we, right now, within the next 5 seconds, everyone, hit the like button, the thumbs up arrow. If you are on YouTube, hit that thumbs up. If you are on Rumble, hit that thumbs up. And I do see us, we're on the various platforms today. So this is a good day, a big audience day. And I'm happy, so pleased that we're seeing our audience growing back up. For those of you who are listening on YouTube, I encourage you, the YouTube listeners, to, and let me give you the link so you can find us on Rumble. Because of the way that YouTube has censored dialogues that they do not approve of, such as dialogues relating to health, I do not broadcast all of my live programs on YouTube. Sometimes, if I'm lucky to get 1 or 2 a week onto YouTube, because I've been banned and isolated and threatened, and I think I already have 2 warning strikes hanging over my head. So if I say certain things there and get banned, I want you to know Rumble is our main broadcasting location nowadays. So if we disappear on YouTube again and banned and all of our videos there get thrown in the trash like happened before, 2,000 videos just discarded, I have those 2,000 videos saved on my hard drives. But we are now broadcasting live daily and continuing on Facebook. They have been censoring to some extent, but not nearly as bad as the Alphabet Corporation. So Come, let's stay together. Let's grow together. Let's build together. We have an entire planet to reset, to realign according to Ma'at, truth, justice, balance, harmony, reciprocity, order, and propriety. Ma'at is our sustainable pathway forward. Ma'at. Keep that always in mind, people of African heritage and our friends from other empathetic, sympathetic indigenous peoples. Let us go forward. And I want to thank everybody who is commenting. You do understand that our engagements are very satisfying to me. I love it when people ask me questions. Sometimes people will text me because I will give out my text number in case if you have a question or a topic or a theme, have a topic or a theme for LIB Radio, text me at 702-580-0662. Good. I'd love to hear from you. Love engaging with you. A lot of people will text me and say, hey, I got a question. I'm not healthy. And that, that goes straight to my heart. When someone says, I am not healthy, I'm on medical prescription drugs. I don't like living that way. I don't like the way my body is acting, functioning. I don't like carrying around this excess weight. I don't like nasty food in order to try and be healthy. You got me. I'm on your team. Put me in the game, coach. We need a win here. So somebody out there listening to, with an audience this size today, somebody out there is on medications and they don't like it. Somebody out there is experiencing joint pain, shoulder pain, arthritis, osteoarthritis. They're experiencing pinched nerves in their back, sciatica, peripheral neuropathy, tingling pains in their toes and their fingers, and circulatory problems. Somebody out there is in danger of a stroke or has had a stroke and not fully recovered from it. Put me in the game, coach. We need a win here. Put me in the game, coach. I was real disappointed last week. I heard one of my friends say, sorry, I was away because I had pneumonia, and he was away for like a month. I said, my phone didn't ring, my text didn't ring. You know how to get in contact with me. And he said, yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't even say nothing because I felt empathetic for him. But come on, aren't we closer than that? You know what I do. How are you going to be away, disabled from doing what we do together when all of us love and need you and appreciate you so much? How are you going to be failing the position of being our leader for that 1 month because of severe, acute respiratory syndrome? And what does that stand for? SARS? Yeah, that. We know what SARS is. It's not ARS, it's SARS. So we go forward. I love you, brother. You know I do. Going forward, here we are. Back to the text we're sharing for today. We're talking about these brilliant scholars, these ones who move us forward intellectually so that we can do what is necessary for our generation to move our people forward. The next one up on this list is Namwali Serpell. This Zambian writer and professor of English at Harvard University, his work blends elements of African mythology, history, and futurist fiction. Notable works include her debut novel, The Old Drift, which received critical acclaim and won the Arthur C. Clarke Award. Her writing is noted for intricate narratives and depth of African identities. Namwali Serpell said, quote, "Fiction is a way of exploring the world, of understanding it, and of making sense of our place in it. And I can't disagree with that. I'm not a fiction writer. People have asked me, Kitty, well, why don't you write a fiction book? I say, because the 4 best fiction books have already been written. The 4 best fiction books include John A. Williams' book, The Man Who Cried I Am, Toni Morrison's book, what's the name of it? Oh, doggone it, I can't think of the name right now. The book by Zora Neale Hurston, Their Eyes Were Watching God, and Toni Morrison's book. Is it Beloved? It's not the one I'm thinking of. Everything Toni Morrison wrote was great. And then the other of the 4 great fiction books have already been written, and mine would be the 5th if I did write it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But the other book, great fiction book, is Black Empire by George Schuyler. I'm going to be talking about that one shortly. Namwali Serpell, again, fiction is a way of exploring the world or understanding it, and of making sense of our place in it. Next of these powerful intellectuals talking about the future, Wole Talabi, not Tabali, that sounds like Tabuli. Wole Talabi. This Nigerian engineer, writer, and editor is a prominent voice in African speculative fiction and African futurism. Talabi's short stories have been featured in various anthologies and magazines. He edited the collection, quote, African Futurism and an Anthology. Again, the collection African Futurism and Anthology, which showcases diverse African speculative fiction. Talabi says, quote, speculative fiction allows us to imagine different futures and possibilities, to challenge the status quo, and to envision a better world, unquote. And that is a very powerful quote. That one almost inspires me to write a book on speculative fiction. And yeah, I have such a book in mind. I kind of started it, but it turned out not to be speculative fiction, but a drawing analogies from the original Black Panther movie to the world in which we live and the world in which we intend to create. And that would be the Wakandan future. So who knows? Maybe I will write a speculative fiction book called The Wakandan Future. I am writing a real life book called The African Future, of which I'm reading from right now. Next scholar, Suyi Davies Okumbowa. I love these African names. They sound so sweet coming off my tongue. Suyi Davies Okumbowa, a Nigerian author and professor of creative writing. He focuses on African futurism and fantasy, often incorporating African folklore and mythology into his notable works, which include David Mogo, God Hunter, that's one book title, David Mogo, God Hunter, and Son of the Storm. Okumbowa's writing explores themes of power, identity, and cultural heritage. One notable quote is, quote, African mythology and folklore are rich with stories that can inspire and empower us to think differently about the future. Another one that I have up on this list is one of my 4 favorite fiction books. This book entitled, or this is Dr. George Schuyler. We're talking about the scholars. Dr. George Schuyler, Schuyler, author of the book Black Empire. Penguin Classics. The book originally ran as 2 weekly serials in the Pittsburgh Courier. Black International, which ran in the Courier from November 1936 to July 1937, and Black Empire ran from October 1937 to April 1938. They were combined and edited in 1993 by Dr. Robert A. Hill, who organized the Garvey Papers at UCLA. Very important collection we all should know about. And edited by R. Kent Rasmussen. A pioneering work of Afrofuturism and anti-racist fiction by the author of, quote, Black No More. This novel, Black Empire, is about a black scientist who masterminds a worldwide conspiracy to take back the African continent from imperial powers. And do I have that one handy? That one should be real close just to reach out and touch it, because I consider the black world to be almost like a Bible in my mind. No, I don't have that in this library. Here is how one online seller describes Black Empire. An amazing serial theory or serial story of black genius against the world is how Black Empire was promoted upon its original publication as a serial in the Pittsburgh Courier from 1936 to 1938. It tells the electrifying tale of Dr. Henry Belcetis, a black scientific genius desperate to free his people from the crushing tyranny of racism. To do so, he concocts a plot to enlist a crew of black intellectuals to help him take over the world, cultivating a global network to reclaim Africa from imperial powers and punish Europe and America for white supremacy and their crimes against the planet's black population. At once a daring, high-stakes science fiction adventure and a strikingly innovative Afro-futurist classic, this controversial and fearlessly political work lays bare the ethical quandaries of exactly how far one should go in the name of justice. And again, the book is entitled The African Future by George Schuyler. And just one quick correction here. And just double check. Okay, got it. The voices of this relatively small collection of African scholars and intellectuals represent a diverse range of perspectives on the future of Africa, addressing critical issues from governance and technology to sustainability, culture, and identity. I hope that you find satisfaction in being reintroduced to these powerful scholars. And just a couple collections. Yeah, let me reread that. The voices of this relatively small collection of African scholars and intellectuals represent a diverse range of perspectives on the future of Africa, addressing critical issues from governance and technology to sustainability, culture, and identity. I hope that you find satisfaction in being introduced to these powerful scholars. And of course, some of them don't need to be introduced in this book. And I could go on. There are so many that would comprise this collective, and we are so appreciative to all of them. We've gotten to 1 hour and 5 minutes of the broadcast for today. And rather than start another chapter, this next chapter is entitled, and we'll pick this up tomorrow, The Global African Diaspora. And this is very important. We're going to be talking about numerous groups that comprise the global African diaspora, including where we at? The global African diaspora, including, come on, navigation, catch up with where I'm at. We'll be talking about the Brazilian Quilombo people, the Afri-Amer tribe. And I'm going to show you how I, in my work on demographics, put the Afri-Amer tribe back together, because we have been artificially separated into camps that are not seeing ourselves as one people, one identity. So I'm going to show you how we put them back together and we improve on our numbers. The U.S. Census listed us in the 2020 census, I think, at around 43.6 or 46 million. I can assure you, given the way we count ourselves without having others tell us who we are, isn't that Kuji Chagalia, self-determination? According to my determination, we are over 62 million people. That's going to be tomorrow's conversation here on LIB Radio. You don't want to miss that. We will be talking about calculating black populations across CARICOM. Who are CARICOM people? We'll be talking about Africans populating the UK and the European Union. We'll talk about black Arabs. And we will talking about Asian and Pacific Islander melanated populations who Runoko Rashidi's brilliant work showed us up close, personal, on the spot, on the front line. That's who we are across many parts of the Asian Pacific Islanders and the Australasia extended population. So we're putting our family back together. As a global people, I can assure you this much. By the time you listen to tomorrow's program, you will realize why it is very easy for us to claim that across the planet, African people are the number one ethnic group. Larger than Indians, larger than Chinese, certainly larger than European people. 1.755 billion strong on this planet, educated in every aspect of how to run modern technology-based societies. We just got to realize this and build upon what was today's theme on a global basis. Today's theme was continental unity moves us forward. But I would say further that global unity, we win it all. But that global unity must not be a unity in being exploited, a unity in being a victim, a unity of being dependent upon patronage, a unity that is so easily shattered by trifling propaganda and simplistic anti-human techniques and manipulation by these secretive agencies. A unity in which a person like Donald Trump comes to govern the United States. If African people on this planet were truly aligned with our own heritage, culture, history, our own strengths, our own assets, our own pathways to the future, we would say, doesn't matter. Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, they both represent wings of the same flesh-eating hawk. One might say vulture. So therefore, I myself, I don't lament when Donald Trump does his crazy of the day. I laugh. Laughter is good for me. Laughter is good for my health. Laughter is good for my endocrine system. Laughter is good for keeping my stomach muscles tight, my abs predominant. Laughter is a good thing. So crazy of the day is a humorous moment for me. And Donald Trump, by the time I wake up and get on the air, one or two crazies of the day are already out there. And I know it's going to be a good day. At least from my perspective. And if we can say it's going to be a good day every day, then there's another day when we're inspired to do our part, to actively engage in creating the goodness in the world that we have determined the world truly does need. The world doesn't need more crazies, more narcissists, more billionaire egos. The world certainly doesn't need more manipulation of our scholars and heroes and intellectuals. The world doesn't need more brain drain from African people. China got over it. India gotten over it for the most part. Many indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere, indigenous colonized by Spain, but they're getting over it. And we, the dominant demographic on the planet, we're going to get over it in our lifetime. Maybe not in all territories, but for our beloved motherland continent, yes. The Africa Rising narrative is now assuming a position we call the African future. And I'm, to say the least, pretty doggone glad about it. So tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the global African diaspora and its sustainable development. And other chapters to come up, we'll be talking about, and I'm trying to just stick to 2 chapters per week. At a certain point, I will need to expedite the completion of this book, which I expect to be coming out in March. Not that far away already. I've been working on it steadily for about 3 weeks, and it is up to 55 pages and 16,500 words, which is about the third the size of the book. So we're not doing too bad. A whole book done in 6 weeks, I can speed it up just a little bit more than that. But having this book out before the end of March is undeniably the goal. Do you have goals? Similar goals? Talk to me. For the next few minutes, I just want to hear what's on your mind. Whatever you say is the most important thing for us to talk about. Going forward, Nguvu says this, and I told you, whatever you say is the most important thing for us to talk about. Nguvu writes these words: I love science, math, and philosophy. Ma'at encompasses all of those inside of me. And Nguvu also asked the question, are you thinking Beloved by Toni Morrison? I'm pretty sure that was the book I was thinking about. Now, I've read parts of Beloved, but I haven't read the whole book from cover to cover. And I will admit the reason I haven't done that, because I know I have the book. I know I have advocated for the book. And I know Toni Morrison is one of the most graceful writers of an entire generation. The reason I haven't read the book is just I kind of have this bias against reading fiction. And every time I've pulled the book out and put it in a position to say, okay, Kitty, grab this book and start reading, because I know that Beloved is one of those books, like Zora Neale Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God. I didn't read fiction very much when I read that book, and I grabbed that book. Another book I didn't mention, one of the great books, is The Spook Who Sat by the Door by Sam Greenlee. Put that on my list of the 5 great novels that have already been written that I would love to have written. So I'm going to read Beloved. But I know that when I grab a book like The Spook Who Sat by the Door, or Their Eyes Were Watching God, or Black Empire by George Schuyler, or The Man Who Cried I Am by John A. Williams, I binge read. I can't stop, can't put it down. And for right now, binge reading is inconvenient for me because I have this heavy schedule of research I'm doing to get this sequence of books into publication. I've done 2 books to close out the last month of December. The 3rd book comes out the beginning of February, actually the last days of February. And that represents the first of probably 4 books to come out by April to coincide with our writing class, which you all should have joined. And Google, you should have been in this latest writing class. It's ongoing. We're about 3-4 weeks into it now, 3 weeks into it. You should have been with us because the way you think deserves to be memorialized, to be intergenerational. I like people who think like that, who write like that, who love science, love Ma'at, love African-centered philosophies. And I'm here to help you get your book done in 90 days. So you can always do this course on your own. I have the book out. From Pen to Power, 90 days to write and publish your book. And I'm going to encourage everybody, as many as possible, to get your books written. Let me see. I have a web page just for that book, 90daybook.com. I'm pretty sure that's it. Is it coming up? Let's try it this way. libtv.com /90-day book / there it is. And I'm going to encourage everybody out there, don't let me have all the fun. Don't let me write all of the books. Join us. You're going to be really proud of yourselves. I'm really proud of my authors who do complete the tasks. So some of them sign up but don't complete the task. Some of them sign up, they get excited about the idea, but then when the work comes up, you know what I'm saying. So from pen to power, 90 days to write and publish your book is here, that's where you get the book. Let's go and push this here and copy, cut, and paste that. 90 days. Think about that. That's just one quarter. What did you do over the last 90 days that makes you incredibly proud? It not only makes you incredibly proud, but is permanent record of your great accomplishments in life. Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Let's create this living legacy. Let's build on legacy that lasts forever. So publish your book. Get your book in print. Please do. Please do. The world needs to hear your profound ideas for Africa One and Nguvu. And lastly, before I leave today, I'm kind of stretching out a minute, but lastly, I think we all need to do a better job with this health thing over the weekend. Of course, the big highlight for the nation over the weekend was the national holiday called Super Bowl Day. Congratulations to the people of Philadelphia for seeing themselves as the height when it comes to this sports empowerment. Those of us in this circle realize the limitations of this perception. It's much more about satiating the people's desire for power rather than is about real power. But congratulations to all of the athletes for your accomplishment on both teams. I didn't have a pony in that race. I just wanted to see a good competition of strategies. For me, a good sporting event is more about game theory than it is about my team prevailing over your team. Game theory is whose coach, whose strategist figured it out the best. Game theory. Read the book, Disaster Preparedness for World Wars 5 and 6. We talked about this yesterday on the Mastermind, that chapter called Game Theory for Master's Level. And that was a very important chapter. If we understood game theory, people, we would be winning. Unfortunately, right now, our pattern is losing. That don't make any sense. You understand game theory. In the contest for which Philadelphia Eagles beat the Kansas City Chiefs, the coaches are the game theory strategists. And one team didn't just prevail over the other team, they smashed the other team. Why? Because they had their strategies in order going into the game. That's how you win. You get your strategies in order. You don't make it up on the fly. You don't make it up reacting to what the other team is doing. No. We can do better than that. So I'm saying this much. Game theory, your health. Are they making money off of you on a regular basis? Doesn't matter whether you're co-paying or insurance paying, whatever. The medical pharmaceutical establishment is getting wealthier and more powerful than the larger society, which means they have hijacked the system. They have hijacked the system, and they are using people's bodies as the vehicle for their continuing empowerment. They're using our children. We do know about non-consensual non-consensual medical experimentation. I don't know how the word sex even got into the mix, but I did not mean to say anything about that. But we do know about non-consensual human experimentation. We know about the Tuskegee syphilis studies. Most of us don't know about the Guadalupe syphilis experiments. We should know that. We do know about Henrietta Lacks' stolen cellular culture from her ovarian cancer. Most of us don't know that those materials were used around the world for product development. Many of those products made it into our bodies during this era of the explosion of cancer in Western societies. Yes, that's true. Can we do better than that? Yes, but not if we handhold with the system. Not if we're so scientifically illiterate and vulnerable and gullible that whatever they tell us, we just go right along with it and argue against our family members who have done the research and done the studies, who want us to go our own separate way. I'm going to stop talking about that. And I'm just going to ask you the question, do they have your body under their control? Are they using you as human guinea pigs? Can you do better than that? Can we do better than that? I think we can, but I've been wrong. I'm going to ask you, my listening audience, to check out what I do. Do look at LIB Radio. Look at my collection of books of the Conscious Rasta Press, including the 3 new books, The Stem Cell Revolution, Disaster Preparedness for World Wars 5 and 6, and Living Superfood Solutions. I'm very, very proud of these accomplishments. I love it. Oh, and I'm starting to say this and I didn't say this. I love it when people come to me and they ask for solutions. We hosted our monthly Las Vegas vegan feast this past Saturday, just 2 days ago. And it was one of the best feasts in recollection. We had a total of 27 of the 29 planned for dishes. 27 of them made it to the table. And there were some spectacular 3 new dishes that were put on the table that were spectacular. Did anybody know that you can make some delicious brownies out of sweet potatoes? Not only delicious, but incredibly healthy. Sweet potatoes are slamming. And I made my black bean soup. I kind of upgraded it a little bit, black bean mushroom soup, and there was a debate. There was a debate. I did put my potato salad on the table, And I have always said, every time I serve up in a feast, every time I serve up my potato salad, I always say the same thing. My potato salad brings all the girls to the yard. It is spectacular. My potato salad, I would put it up against anybody's potato salad, especially if you're putting like eggs and things in yours. I don't put death in my potato salad. I don't put veganese. I don't put mayonnaise. I do put veganese. And many times I'll make my own veganese. This time I made herbed veganese, but as a dip and not as a salad dressing. But I could use it as a salad dressing. It's just that powerful. But my potato salad is like rocking. But there was a debate this time. People were debating which dish of the 27 dishes that we served, which one is your favorite. Some people said hibiscus juice. Always a favorite. But there was a debate. Was it the black bean mushroom soup or the potato salad? Black bean mushroom soup won out. Why? Because I voted for that. It's a joy. These are in the recipe books. You can get Living Superfood Recipes Volume 3 and get my potato salad recipe. It's powerful too. I don't use the russet potatoes, the big mutant things, genetically engineered. I ain't doing that to people I love. I will not do that to people I love. Russet potatoes are on my, that's put up, wear garlic around your neck list. That's a vampire crop. But I do use red potatoes, golden potatoes, purple potatoes. Oh yeah, those are all excellent. In fact, in my mind, I just came up with a new potato salad, mixing the three different, if I can find the colors and get the colors and maintain the colors in there, mix the red, the golden, and the purple. I have mixed the golden and purple together, and that looks really beautiful. But we had this awesome, awesome dinner, and it was excellent. And a couple of people at the table did mention, yeah, I've got issue. I need help. I gave them my card. You tasted the food. Tomorrow, you're going to wake up and your body's going to already reflect the fact that there's something powerful went through your digestive tract. Is going through your digestive tract. And where the healing begins, as soon as you put the food in, chew it up, chew it up, chew it up. Do eat it the right way. Don't eat it the way you've been eating, and which now has you one of these metabolic syndrome diagnoses. No, eat the food the right way, the right food the right way, and live up, live up, live up. And get your stem cell proliferation back in order. And then go back and get your youth back. And from the time you get your youth back, go forward now, much more careful of how to protect and preserve your youthful vitality and health. Somebody out there, I think you're hearing me, but you don't know what to do. If you want to get your health better, get it in order, call the doctor. Just call the doctor and say, give me love cure. I'll grab my medicine and head on out the door. I'm singing from one of my songs. You need my true love and devotion. Just call the doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm Chef Kitty. Just call the culinary healing specialist. This is a branch of what's called functional medicine. I am a clinical nutritionist. Just call the doctor and say, give me love cure. Food is love. Food is life. Give me that cure. I'll grab my medicine and head on out the door. I want to help one person today. I want to help 2 people tomorrow. I want to help 4 people the day after tomorrow. To get your health, find your health. I want to help you. I can. At this particular point, there is no disease disorder that living superfood cannot help. That's a very bold statement. I'm going to repeat it. At this particular point, there is no disease or disorder that living superfood, the system that I have designed, cannot help. A metabolic syndrome disease, you got hypertension, high blood pressure, that's too easy. Diabetes, Didn't you know? Overweight, obesity. When do you want to start? How much do you want to lose? What's your target date? That's just three questions I asked you. When do you want to start? How much do you want to lose? What's your target date? If it's unrealistic, I'll tell you that's unrealistic. Let's set a more realistic goal. I will say that to people. People say, well, I want to lose 50 pounds. When do you want to start? 5 years ago. What's your target date for reaching it? Next week. I will tell them your goals are unrealistic, and that reflects the mentality that got you in this problem in the first place. But if you say, well, I want my body mass index to be out of the red zones. There are 3 red zones. There's BMI index, obesity class 1, obesity class 2, obesity class 3. If you are in obesity class 3 or 4, there is actually an obesity class 4, even though it's rarely talked about because those people are just so out of proportion. But if you want to get out of obesity class 3, because that will end up being the cause of your premature death, obesity class 3 will be the cause of your premature death. If you want to get out of that, you may need to take off 40 or 50 pounds within 60 days. That is not difficult at all. One person took off 90 pounds in 75 days. That's in the book Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, or in the movie documentary Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. 2 people actually did that. So that's doable. I've heard of one other person that took off well over 100 pounds by just doing water only for an extended period of time, but that was medically supervised. I'm going to show you how to do this on your own while giving you all of the parameters by which you will stay within your safe zone. So overweight, obesity, which links to 33 different diseases, including cardiovascular disease, cancer, polycystic ovarian syndrome, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, gastroenteritis, a whole bunch of diseases are all linked to inflammation. Do you want to get out of that camp? Do you want to keep your money in your household savings and save it for your children's future and stop giving it to the medical, pharmaceutical, drug cartel complex? Then come on board. Food is nature's most perfect medicine. Food is nature's most perfect medicine. So text me. Food is nature's most perfect medicine. Text me and I'll give you a discount. Text me. Food is nature's most perfect medicine. You're going to text that to, let me type it right, to 702-580-0662. And I'll call you right away and offer a discount. But you got to follow the instructions, people. Got to follow the instructions. So I'll call you right away. Excuse me, it's got some typo it wants me to correct. And offer you a discount. Why? Because I love you. And you deserve to be treated right. You deserve to be empowering yourself. A couple comments have come in. Nguvu writes, the spook who sat by the door was a blueprint for revolution and a process for doing so. Read this years ago, but still remember it. Someone should dare make a movie based on it. No, the movie was made many years ago. The spook who sat by the door. That movie's been out for a long time. Let me just, movie, or maybe it's being sarcastic, has been out for decades. And they're based upon the novel by Sam Greenlee. And I don't call that one a blueprint as much as I call it an inspiring writing. It wasn't a blueprint because it had huge gaps in it. And blueprints, and especially in game theory, blueprints don't have big gaps in it. It was an entertaining movie. If you want a blueprint for revolution, that's George Schuyler's book. Even then, even though it has huge gaps in it, but I think that George Schuyler's book, Black Empire, is much more detailed. It's much, much longer. You're not going to read Black Empire in 1 or 2 days. Like I read Sam Greenlee's book. I couldn't put it down. So I think by 2 days I had finished the book. But I would say Black Empire is the premium book in the blueprint for revolution class. And I say that very deliberately. Black Empire, Google, you're going to love it. It's a little bit expensive. It's not getting any cheaper. But it's well worth, I think, the last time I saw it online, and you may be able to find it used from one of the used booksellers. It was around $40 for a new paperback, and slightly less than $40. You are not going to be disappointed, trust me. Be a great investment. And it's a large book too. It's 600 or 700 pages long. And it's not too long either. And by the time I finish it, I wish it were 900 pages long. So, on that note, I want to thank you all for tuning in today. You have been tuned into your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. You have been tuned into your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, with LIB TV and livinginblack.com. Tell your friends to tell their friends we have our own now. And we're going to keep building this up. We're going to keep putting practical solutions on the table, real solutions to the real problems and real challenges that face our community on LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livinginblack.com. Tune in tomorrow. We're going to be back with another chapter of the book, The African Future. And we're going to do the best we can to make our solutions, real solutions for most of us who need real solutions. On your favorite, we aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, LIB TV. We are livinginblack.com. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.